Thanks for clicking on this video. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon and turn on all notifications to keep up to date with the latest information and discussions. Wow, that Broly movie was something else, wasn't it? But it definitely taught us one thing, especially obviously that Broly is now cool again. Hey guys, MasakoX here. Now, Dragon Ball Super Broly is a pretty momentous and special occasion for anyone who could call themselves a Dragon Ball fan. Not only did it revive our hopes in the dreams and the future of Dragon Ball, but also, like Battle of Gods, it opened up a whole new world of lore to us that we wouldn't have thought possible. But unlike Battle of Gods, instead of making new lore, it actually expanded upon the lore that was already there. It was actually, in a way, more ambitious than Battle of Gods, although honestly, with Battle of Gods, they could have basically done anything and we would have gawped at it because we weren't expecting anything, and we got a whole lot of something with Battle of Gods, didn't we? In any case, I imagine there are quite a lot of things that you could take away from the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. And I'm not talking about just the fan service, because there's plenty of that fan service and, that kind of fan service. Although I will say, in terms of that kind of fan service, really, Dragon Ball, it's completely tame. I've seen it now about 4 times, and I feel like I can get a good sense about that. I'll do a video in the future about a detailed review. Now I've actually seen it multiple times, I can get anything out of it I possibly could. When Haverok and I saw it the last 2 times, we were just buzzing with completely new ideas. Together, we managed to come up with 6 pretty solid theories as to what we can ascertain, as well as a couple of goofy little ones. They just something are more akin to observations. Nevertheless, Haverok and I are delighted to bring to you now 8 potential things that we could take away from Dragon Ball Super Broly. There are going to be some spoilers here, but they're not going to be earth-shattering ones. Most of these ideas are things that we could take away after you've seen the movie a couple of times, and they're things that would easily slip you by upon first viewing. Or these could be expanded upon later if Super, or whatever name it is given, comes back in maybe later this year. Number 1. Berry Blue may have been the mother figure that we were waiting for Frieza. But Masako! Frieza didn't have a mother! Where was his mother all this time? Berry Blue doesn't look like Frieza, Masako! Wait. I did not say that Berry Blue was his mother. I'm saying, well, Haverok and I are saying, that Berry Blue is a mother figure. You see, I get the feeling that King Cold was busy being a king, and probably for a very long time, and therefore, when Frieza was born, may not have had some kind of influence about his upbringing, so therefore, he's got plenty of minions who he could charge in making sure that Frieza grows up to be a magnificent emperor and tyrant. This is kind of going off the back of the video that we did about Frieza and King Cold, where Frieza may have been the ultimate clone / creation of King Cold, and continuing their line. But I still feel like, really, it's not just about nature, but it's also about nurture. Frieza needed some kind of guidance that could be trusted by the likes of King Cold. That, therefore, may have been down to the likes of Kikuno and Berry Blue, especially Berry Blue, acting like a nanny. Okay, well, where did we get this idea? Well, it's just all simple body language. Think back during the movie and think about the times where Berry Blue and Frieza were in the same shot. Was she standing behind him? Pretty much not. Pretty much standing next to. His other minion, Kikuno, which you could actually describe as the court jester, stands a fair bit away, out of kind of just showing that he is subservient. But Berry Blue, no, she's right up in Frieza's grill. And she also keeps the same confident expression throughout the entirety of the movie. Now, in the movie, it is actually mooted that Frieza once destroyed a general because of his bad breath. Berry Blue can say things that are far more egregious in Frieza's mind, and Frieza doesn't bat an eyelid, and neither does she actually recoil in fear or regret of having said it. He could have easily just shouted her down and saying, "No, talk about it, stop being preposterous." But no, he's not fazed at all. In fact, she was correct. She knows him so well. And a lot of the time when in the actual subtitles in the Japanese version, Frieza refers to someone as son, most of the time it's usually out of sarcasm, or maybe with some kind of respect, like maybe to Goku, because that's an exception. But with Berry Blue, she gets Berry Blue's son, and you get the feeling that Frieza means it. A note about how she uses her language. Not always when she's talking to Frieza does she refer to him as Lord or Sir. She does sometimes, but you get the feeling that it's not really sincere. But for the most part, she just talks to him like he was his little baby boy that she's been raising this entire time. Nobody else in the Frieza Force acts this way to Frieza. She gets away with it entirely. It may be weird, but it actually adds a little more depth to Frieza. Number 2. King Cold may have been responsible for everything pre-Dragon Ball. Again, going back to a video that we did on King Cold and Frieza a couple of weeks ago, we had to note the relationship that King Cold had with King Vegeta. It was bizarrely cordial. I mean, that's relatively speaking. And it made the reaction of King Vegeta to little Lord Frieza all the more palpable. It makes us think that this has been going on for a very, very long time, and they know their place. And it may imply that King Cold had a huge influence in how modern Saiyans work, because as we remember from many flashbacks in Z, Saiyans not that long ago were in mud huts and were wearing little loincloths and stuff like that. How do they go from that to an organized race with an empire, a king, a monarchy? Everything just seems so, organized. And it takes me back to something I discovered in Daizenshu 7. Around about age 550, a mysterious spaceship took primitive Saiyans from the planet Sadala in Universe 7, or their former planet, and then took them to what is known as Planet Vegeta today. Or at least before it was, taken out. I think that mysterious spaceship may have been King Cold's. Now this does lend some credence to our original idea that King Cold may at least be centuries old, that he's been around for a very long time. And this idea was emboldened even further in the Team 4-Star Broly review, where Kaiser Neko actually implies, based on the way that King Cold and King Vegeta interact, that maybe King Cold was the very person that established the Saiyan monarchy in the first place. That, based on paraphrasing on Kaiser, that maybe King Cold discovered the Saiyans and therefore decided to organize them in a way that he saw befitting to what he would expect. He would just see somebody say, hey you look strong, you could be the king. And therefore that king led to being Vegeta the First, because the Vegeta that we know is Vegeta the Fourth, or hypothetically the Fourth. And also the way that King Vegeta looks, it just looks like that their regal uniform and the cape and stuff like that is modelled off of King Cold's. So really, imitation's a sincerest form of flattery. King Cold would have found the Saiyans endearing and cute because, oh look at that, the little monkeys are copying us, isn't that adorable? And they're useful. So King Cold sees multiple benefits of having the Saiyans on his side. And the fact about King Cold's age may explain why a lot of buildings in Dragon Ball look the same, and not just down to the fact that Toriyama is lazy. Maybe if King Cold's been centuries old, his empire is absolutely ancient, so therefore the architecture would have been copied and pasted onto many different worlds. To make everything efficient, you could just take employees and forces and minions from one world to another, and there's no learning curve. If King Cold has been around all this time, why didn't the Supreme Kais or Shin do something about it? Well, with Beerus asleep, I guess King Cold's the next best thing in terms of a Beerus alternative? I don't know. But as Super taught us, the gods and the Kais are very, very incompetent. So this just makes more and more sense. And based on the way that King Cold describes himself, and in comparison to his son, King Cold may not have been a good king, as in, a good person, but I think he may have been a fair one. There is a lot more that we can talk about this, because it opens up so many doors about King Cold and Frieza, but for now, let's just say that the enigma that was once had about this royal family may start to actually, have some ideas, and we actually may be able to unearth some more clues in the fullness of time. Number 3. Vegeta may have been the one to unlock Broly's power. One of the most extraordinary bits of Saiyan muscle or mental memory is that they are very, very quick learners. Something that was originally exhibited by Goku learning the Kamehameha in the original Dragon Ball, and something that we saw again with Broly in his own movie. Broly went within seconds or just minutes of barely being able to handle Vegeta in his base form to basically being able to take them on with a new form and in blue, in just a matter of hours. But I think throughout all of this, I think there was some outside influence, and I think God Ki did provide the catalyst, because if you notice, when Vegeta is about to finish him off, Broly may have absorbed some of the God Ki, because the way that he glows is very similar to the Super Saiyan God transformation. Now, I'm not saying that Broly became one, I'm just saying that the Ki that he absorbed was somehow exhibited and unlocked something, his wrathful form. This, therefore, began the actual erosion of the wall that was keeping Broly away from the legendary Super Saiyan form that he eventually got at the end of the movie, and that we're all very familiar with the original trilogy. He forged his own power, which could resist God Ki, and actually in a way make him the antithesis of one. His full power Super Saiyan was the yang to Vegeta's yin. Number 4. The Goku Ultra Instinct debate. Now, this one is a pretty divisive one in the community. I don't usually stick to my guns this way about something without hearing outside influence, but Haverok and I, there is no debate here. Goku did try to go Ultra Instinct, and I know that in the original storyboards that it wasn't originally mooted, but those are boards. Things change between the original boarding and the final product. It may have been a purely subjective move because, oh hey, that turned up in the TV series, Toriyama didn't give us any notes about it. Why don't we just include it anyway? That could have easily have happened, but it is there. In our minds, we think that Goku's body remembers how to go Ultra Instinct because that was the whole thing. Mind gone, body still there. With Goku's mind intact, that is the block. That is the bottleneck here. Now, to lend some thought as to why we think this, we have to go back a little earlier when Broly is basically hurling Goku around like a rag doll. Because as you see, with his eyes and pupils kind of going in and out, it reminds us of when Goku fell into the Spirit Bomb black hole. His eyes disappeared, he was losing consciousness. And I think we may have seen Ultra Instinct had Piccolo chosen not to interfere. Goku, when he was on the ground, was pretty much just, fainting or about to lose consciousness, but it was Piccolo that woke him up again. It brought Goku to a more awoken state, so therefore it disrupted any potential Ultra Instinct transformation that we may have seen. Because as you saw, you did get something, but you didn't get everything because Goku was too woke. Yeah, I know, this is just a little tidbit because the inclusion or non-inclusion of Ultra Instinct doesn't really impact the story at all. If anything, it's a nice little callback / continuation from all the stuff that's going on in the Tournament of Power. I think this was mainly a move on the producers to remind us that the power does exist and it may come back. It's a reminder to us, so therefore, Ultra Instinct, it did happen. Number 5, Tarball and the Jump Special from 2008 may be canon after all. Now I think this one is pretty open and shut. Tarball does exist in the main lore, as do Abo and Kado, if you spot them in the background when Frieza's about to blow up planet Vegeta. Tarball is mentioned by Vegeta like he was in the Minus manga, but it's not someone that really Vegeta cares about. Tarball, we thought for the longest time, was an exception, an anomaly, a weak Saiyan. Really? Are they really weak? But now with Minus and now the Broly movie, the idea of a weak Saiyan isn't that crazy. And the whole idea that Saiyans are just warriors and they only could be warriors, that's gone. Saiyans could pretty much be everything. They could be pilots, they could be engineers, they could be cooks, they could be pretty much everything that a functioning society needs them to be. At the beginning of the movie, Paragus' accomplice, Beats, is pretty much a weak Saiyan and he makes himself known to that fact. His power level is less than Broly when he's just a toddler. He has never been a Great Ape before, he is just pretty much just there to help maintain ships. If Saiyans were just warriors, how would they function without outside help? Because it's clear that they don't have that. They have to make things done themselves, so different jobs need to be filled. Also, Paragus mentions that even though all Saiyans could go Uzaru or Great Ape, not all of them should because they lack the actual control needed to make the most out of it. Well, okay, what's this got to do with the Jump Special then? Well, it shows that Tarball, Abo and Kado, they do exist in the Broly movie, which is meant to be a continuation of the series, and the placement of the story, 2 years after Boo, is slap bang in the middle between Z and Super. Number 6. The Bardock Special is also canon and will probably appear. If you've seen the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, it's pretty clear that there were some very weird cuts, especially in the first third or so in the movie. You feel like there is a lot more going on, but things just make some weird transitions into different scenes. One of the biggest ones, mind, is when Frieza is about to blow up planet Vegeta. You see a bunch of people actually in the atmosphere, like you do in the Bardock Special. And Bardock, when he actually hurls his attack, some of his armor is missing, which makes me think there are some scenes that have been cut for the theatrical version, and when we get a home release, we will have a different version, which will have maybe about 15-20 minutes more. The original screenplay by Toriyama was meant to be 3 hours long. Having a 2-hour version of the movie, it actually makes some sense. Because I think easily, the events of the Bardock Special could have happened, except the whole not having the ability to see the future. Bardock could have easily tried to warn Saiyans about the whole thing. They don't believe him, he has to try and do something on his own. Not only that, but I think Toriyama would include it because he loved the Bardock Special. Why would he want to erase it entirely? Number 7. True Golden Frieza truly has gotten over the stamina thing. There's not much else to say really. Broly was beating Golden Frieza down for an hour. if you could be in true Golden Frieza for an hour and still actually be durable, yeah, Frieza's a completely different person. He's been training, he has not got that crux anymore. And not only that, it was pretty hilarious to watch, wasn't it? Funny and yet informative. Finally, number 8, and remember this is a gaggy one, Bulma may have used the Dragon Balls more than once. The art style in recent times has made Bulma look younger and younger, and yeah, this could be a stylistic choice, and we could leave it at that, but if we wanted to keep things in lore, then maybe Bulma has been using the Dragon Balls to make herself look slightly younger each time. But now that she's been rumbled by Goku, she won't be able to do that anymore because Goku will know, and she'll be more embarrassed, which would explain why at the end of Z, she looks a little older. Why would she do this? Well, Vegeta won't age, really, for another 20, 30, 40 years because of the Saiyan aging process. I think she will resent that fact, so therefore she'll try and do anything that she can do to make herself young, or at least looking young. Bulma has shown that sometimes she can be quite selfish and quite vapid, especially in the early days of Dragon Ball. She may be a brilliant engineer and scientist, but, she does, show and exhibit some things that we might see as a bit fickle. That is why she's a great character. She does have quirks and flaws, but also is remarkably useful. So there we go. Just 8 things that we could take away from the Broly movie. I'm sure there are plenty more things that we can talk about here, but for now, I don't want to go on for too long. So what did you guys think? Did you agree with what we're supposing, or do you think it's all an absolute bunch of vampa? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later.